Hey guys, welcome back. So it's about 82, 83 degrees in southeast Wisconsin. We got the splash pad out. We got a lot of work today. We are going to do some weeding in the front beds, and we're going to get the smoke bush in. We're going to get the hydrangea in. And then in the areas where we don't really have any plants, I've got a ton of pumpkins, so we're going to try to turn those areas into little pumpkin patches. And then around the flagpole, I think we're going to put some small pumpkins and then some sunflowers in. And then we also have a couple hostas that were gifted to us that are going to fill in the blank spaces in the lower porch where the barbecue pit is. So we got a lot of work. Let's get started. All right, it appears the bonines worked pretty well, so we're going to clear this out and get the smoke bush over here, and then we're going to start planting some pumpkins in this area. Got a large area, nothing really put in here other than the smoke bush, so rather than let the area go to waste, we figure we'd utilize it for growing some pumpkins. So all the shrubs in this area were about 7 or 8 feet tall. We cut them all back last year and they've all started to come back. The goal is to try to sustain these at about 4 feet tall so they become one continuous shrub. But we want something that's going to stand out against a continuous shrub. So we picked Limelight Hydrangea to go out here. It's going to have that green, vibrant green, almost jade-like color of flowers that will eventually give way to a pink or a purplish color in the fall. It should get to be about 6 to 8 feet tall and wide, so it'll be a nice backdrop for this area and should stand out real nice against the shrubs. All the front beds are now weeded, so now it's time to start planting some pumpkins. All right, so in this area, we're gonna put the teddy bear sunflowers. The sunflower heads get to be about 6 inches big, and the plant itself gets to be about 24 to 36 inches in height. We're gonna put that all around the flagpole. They need to be about 10 to 12 inches apart. I thought this would create a nice big fluffy area around the flagpole, making it a little interesting. And then on the outside of the sunflowers, we're going to be putting in pumpkin mini harvest blend. It's got a variety of different types of pumpkins. We've got Jack B. Little, Hooligan F1, Wee B. Little, Ruffian F1, and Hooligan F1 varieties. So they get to be about 4 to 6 inches and 4 to 6 ounces in size. They need about 2 to 3 feet to grow into. That's about it. So we're gonna get everything in the ground in this area and see how this turns out. So our next variety is the Big Moon Pumpkin. Griffin actually picked this one out because on the cover of it is a little boy. Griffin saw this and said, "Oh, that's me." So when I asked him to pick out any seed he wanted to plant in the garden, this is the one he picked because he believed that he was on the cover of it. Now, these pumpkins get gigantic. They reach an average of 200 pounds or more. They're fast growing and they need a lot of space. So I figure in this area of the garden, we're not really putting anything else other than the hydrangea and some of the pre-existing plants. So they need about 20 feet to be spread apart. I figure I can take the vines and move them any direction I need to, and they can just take over this area because we're not going to be putting anything else over here. All right, how old are you?
3.
Good job. So we're going to plant 3. Count them.
1, 2, 3.
Good job. Hold them. Take them all. Oh, you dropped one. Get it.
Here.
All right, so we're going to put one right here. Come here. Next variety, we're going to be putting in a birdhouse gourd. That way we have a little something for projects in the fall and into the winter. Griffin can make birdhouses out of these that we can start putting up around the yard. They're an ornamental gourd. They need about 4 to 6 feet of space to grow. Next, we're going to be putting out at least one of these, maybe two of these butternut squashes in this area. We might find another place to put this, more of this, so we can grow more of it. Right now, Griffin really enjoys eating this, especially if you toss just a little bit of brown sugar on top. Anyway, they get to be about 8 to 10 inches thick, the actual fruit themselves. They need about 5 feet of space to grow. And then we're going for the Gardale pumpkin, a unique looking color, almost a grayish green. They get to be about 10 to 12 inches tall and need about 6 feet of space. And then we've got the jack-o'-lantern. The jack-o'-lantern, the same thing, need about 5 to 10 feet of space. And this is a mound planting, so we'll be planting a couple of them in a big pile before we get started. And then the last one in this area we're probably planting is going to be a small sweet sugar pie that we'll be able to blend up and turn it into either baby food later, or we can use it to make pumpkin pies in the fall. They need about 5 to 12 feet of space. But I will be doing hill planting for this, so we'll be digging those out and spreading them out once these start popping up through the soil. So in this area next to the driveway, we're gonna put a apple gourd, an ornamental squash. It needs about 2 to 4 feet of space to thin out too. So this area isn't huge, so it should work out great. We'll probably put about 3 or 4 of them. All right, the last two that we have are going to be the baby boo, which need about 6 to 8 feet spread out. We'll plant probably about 3 or 4 in this area. They get about 10 pumpkins per vine. They're about 3 inches wide. And then lastly is our table queen. And lastly, we have our table queen acorn. This squash needs about 5 to 6 feet to grow, and they get fruit or squash that ends up being about 5 inches wide. We're gonna put them in this area. It does get some shade in this area, but we get over 6 hours of sun throughout the day. All right, so that's the first wave of pumpkins we have. We might try planting a little bit more in the backyard once we start getting the garden all set up. But we've got our 4 or 5 beds here, there, the center of the yard, one small one over here, and then one on the other side. Now, I used the mound method for, I think, all of them, except for the big moon. And I overplanted, so I can't imagine growing more than maybe 1 or 2 plants in each one of these areas that I put. So the hope is that they'll get started, start to sprout, get going real well. By then I will have the garden bed in the back all set up, and I can transplant some into the backyard if I need to. Or I can find another spot in the yard for them. So I overplanted, planning on maybe some failures in the growing, and also planning on being able to transplant and have a lot more. All right, so we were abruptly cut off because my phone overheated. So this is what we did. I dug 2 large holes, one for this hosta here, and then the other one I put 2 hostas in. So I dug a longer hole. I filled them with biotone, soil that was left in the pot, and dropped those in, covered it with soil the rest of the way up, and watered them in. I'd say it fills out the area just a little bit better. Now we're waiting for some more hostas so we can put some here, at least 1 more there, and I'm guessing 2, maybe 3 more right here. The pumpkins are all in. We've got the hydrangea and smoke busher in. We've got a lot of plants still left to plant, and an entire bed to try to figure out yet. We will be working on this garden bed, and we will try to get this planted this year. This is our main goal for the front yard, is to get this all set. And that's why we planted the pumpkins in all the other beds. So there's greenery out there. They're being utilized for something, and not just dead area, just dead space. So We will be having an upcoming video with planting the rest of the stuff and hopefully a little bit more organization when it comes to what we're doing in these blank areas. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.